All right, so we're on. So welcome, Dhaval, to our audience for the Be a Knowledge Share site as well as for our Facebook group. So appreciate you joining us. For those that are not familiar with Dhaval, Dhaval has a YouTube channel where he basically teaches folks around data sciences and building that skill set. Skills like Python, and it's amazing because all of it is free. I did watch your videos and they basically get you from the start of a project to the end of a project. I think one of the examples was a real estate example, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Um, so Dhaval, welcome. Can you kind of speak a little bit about your channel, about your goals and what it covers?
sure, Rosni. I started this YouTube channel 3 years back. I started teaching Python programming, and gradually it evolved into more into data science. And at that point, few years back, I was learning data science myself. And one big problem I found was if anyone wants to learn, let's say, machine learning, and if you attend any courses like paid courses or degree programs, they start using jargons from very first lecture, and they start using complicated mathematics, and it takes so much time, to learn these things, and the entry barrier becomes like really becomes very steep. But then as I learned data science myself, I realized things doesn't have to be that complex. Things can be explained in a little easier way, and that's my whole mission, like explain things as if you are a high school student. Okay, so I posted like some videos on like convolutional neural network recently, and I always say that my goal is to explain you things as if you are a high school student. Do not use any jargons, kind of get you on the path so that you can build that first understanding. And then if you want to dig deeper into math, you're free to do so. But on very first conversation itself, if I throw, let's say, huge complex calculus equation at you, the biggest problem is not only you will feel like you're wasting your time, you will also get this inferiority complex. So my whole goal is to empower people and make them realize that they're not stupid. They can learn things. They can learn machine learning, although it sounds complicated, but in fact, it is not complicated. And with a step-by-step discipline approach, anyone can enter into the field. We are just having a conversation that I know two of my physiotherapist friends who are doing data science learning right now, and they're doing pretty good. So if a person who is a physiotherapist from totally irrelevant background can do it, anyone can do it. And all my content on YouTube is free. So I grew up in a small village in India, and my father was a teacher. So there, the whole value system around teaching is quite different. So teaching has to be free. It has to be accessible to everyone. Doesn't matter what their background is. Like all you need is an internet and a willpower. So that's what my mission is.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That being said, for someone that's new, so when we look at business analysts and the skill sets that they have, it's really very diverse. So when I say business analyst, I know you and I were chatting before, it's more so a skill set than just a role. A lot of organizations that run data sciences projects, they do have Agile as a basic framework. Part of it, you have different roles as product owners. You have, in some instances, you have business analysts as well. You have developers. For people that are not very technical, BAs can be, POs can be part of that category. And if they want to jump into the data sciences field, be it machine learning, learning Python, what's the strategy that they should use or that they could use in basically jumping over? As you mentioned, you physiotherapist friends, right? What are some of the strategies or advice that you would give folks that are non-technical?
Okay, so if person is non-technical, let's say mechanical engineer is still into engineering, but someone like physiotherapist or a nurse who want to jump into this, I think the first thing is you need to have a right network. You need to network with people, similar people who have transitioned from non-technical field to here. I think having conversation with those people will not only give you tips, but it will be very motivating, right? So when you're making such a transition, you will get a lot of social resistance. Your wife, your kids, or your friends will be telling you, "Hey, what are you doing?" Right? They will just implant so much self doubt in yourself. And learning these things often take time.
Mhm.
So you have during that journey, let's say it takes like 1 year. During that time period, the most important thing is to not have those self doubts and to tell yourself that the journey you have embarked on is the right one. So making connection with the people who have transitioned from non-technical to technical is number one thing. Number two is using right resources and right guidance. So there are so many YouTube channels out there. There are so many courses, right? Like Coursera, Udemy, so many websites you can learn things from. So internet has made all this information available, but there is a downside to it. Since there are so many courses and so much resources, it's easy to get lost. So you
Mm.
need to pick right resource or right medium from where you can do your learning. And the third thing is, especially I'm a big fan of Python. I used to go for volunteer work in a nearby library here in New Jersey for teaching Python. And it was a class of 30 people. And there was a kid who was like 8 year old and he was doing Python.
Wow.
And there was a lady who was like 70-year-old. So it was like a diverse group of people. And they both were doing good. So, so when it comes to Python especially, right? Java and C++ is a little hard to learn, but when it comes to Python, I think anyone can learn it. All you need is like discipline and little bit patience. See, it doesn't happen overnight. You start learning Python in a very first 2 weeks itself, you just tell yourself that it's not my cup of tea. I think that's a wrong way of looking at things. You have to have a patience and discipline and work consistently, and then you can do it. I have one friend, her fiance is uh he's a doctor, actually he's a surgeon, and he got into this mobile app development.
Oh, wow.
Just think, he's a busy guy, he's just doing it for fun. uh but he developed this interest and he learned how to build, let's say, mobile app for Apple devices from YouTube and all that, and he's able to build it. So like, I'm hearing so many such stories. So you need to keep yourself up to date with such stories and just stay in touch with these people to get yourself like motivated.
Yeah. So I think also even if you look ahead into the future, right? So you mentioned a good point is that there's so much information out there. There's so many resources. If you look at data sciences, even if I do a Google search now, I'm sure there's going to be tons of like certificate in data sciences or even
Especially in
degrees.
COVID-19, number of e-learning platforms have skyrocketed.
Yep.
Because I get so many emails for sponsorship, and it's like, okay, we have just launched this XYZ e-learning platform. Can you do affiliate marketing for us? And I'm like amazed, so many websites. So and this thing is going to stay. Online learning is the future. I'm not,
Agreed.
yeah, I'm not
Will
saying
be.
colleges will go away. It will be, but online learning will take a major chunk or a major significant portion of the whole education as an industry.
And also, I would think that given the fact that there's potentially so much demand for data sciences, data analysts, and that whole field, right? So how do you bridge that gap? Do you go to a university degree and get that degree and then kind of jump into the field? Or the other alternative is watching videos like on your YouTube channel, right? Watching it, following it step by step, and basically probably taking on hands-on projects, right? So just kind of being innovative and creative and maybe building your portfolio that way in terms of like, hey, this is where I started, this is what I built, and kind of using that as evidence for your employment, right? So videos like yourselves, because I like the fact that the way you explain it, right? So you go from here's the beginners, this is what you need. So you're really zoning into the core of what's needed, even from a business analysis perspective, right? So there's so many classes and courses out there. How do you whittle it down to just the core principles? And I think that's my next question for you is how are you able to kind of really hone into what's absolutely needed? That's really a skill set, right? So how do you do that, I guess, is my next question.
Yes, so I'll answer that next question first. So I remember a quote from Steve Jobs where he says, focus is basically uh, prioritizing all the items that you want to do, pick first item, and then saying no to anything else that comes up.
Mm,
So it is that one thing that you focus on, right? I have seen people where, let's say you want to learn convolutional neural network, people will go to YouTube and just keep on watching like 10 videos on convolutional neural network, and they would have spent already 3 hours. In the end, they gain nothing. Instead of that, just pick one video, watch it, and then stop your computer. Just do that. People don't digest information nowadays. That's the problem. So just do digestion, like think about, like reflect what you learn, use note and pen, and just do this inner conversation. If you are in college or if you have a colleague at work who are doing similar studies, have a brainstorming session with people, like kind of like a group study.
mhm,
I think that reflection point is very important. So uh, there is a YouTube lecture by Nissan Kasipatla. He's one of, I think he's a Guinness Book of World winner for memorization. He can memorize like 100 digits actually. So what he says is spend less time in input, more time in output. So input is watching video or going through a class. Output is a three-step process, which is number one is reflecting. Number two is implementing. So if you watch convolutional neural network video, you use not and pen, try to get your concepts clear, organize your thoughts in your brain. Then the second thing is always do coding to implement that concept. Third thing is sharing. I don't think I am a data science expert. I have learned data science because I post these videos. People ask me question, and then I try to find answer for people, and that kind of builds my knowledge. So sharing is also very important. Like helping someone selflessly without maintaining a scorecard is a very valuable skill that you can develop, and that will be very useful for you in the future. So that's the focus part. And going back to your first question, which is, should you learn data science on your own or should you go to a college? Well, the answer depends on your situation. If you're already working, and I know people who have 9 to 6 job, who have family, very less time to go to college. So then you can do online learning, because online learning, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just do it at your own pace. And there are the ups and downs of, there are like pros and cons of both approaches. Um, the pros of online learning is it's like you can do it at your home, very, very flexible. You can save a lot of money. The cons is the discipline and accountability. Like, where do you get that accountability from? Now, there are ways, of course. Like, I have a Discord server for my community, and we have a channel called Partner and Group Finder, where you can find people who want to do self-study in a group. So if you make a group and if you come up with a concrete plan that these are our weekly goals, and we will hold each other accountable, then it will work. But let's say if you are kind of a person who cannot maintain that self-discipline, then I would suggest you go to a college. I know one of my friends, she's a data analyst. She wanted to do um, data science. She wanted to move to data scientist role. So she enrolled in a part-time program in a university here in New Jersey. She completed it, and I think she's ready to transition to that role. But then when I looked at her schedule, it was pretty tough. Like, so 9 to 6 she works, then go home, then cook food for her family. Then she goes to college. Like the class is like 8 to 10 in the night. Then you come back. So it becomes a struggle. But at least going to college now, you have a discipline. If you want to get a degree, you have to finish some assignments on time. So there is that enforcement. So it really depends on personality. I have seen both the sides where people themselves are very self-disciplined and motivated. For those people, I don't think they need to go to college. I never did any data science degree myself. Okay, I'm a software engineer actually, and all the data science I learned on my own. So you can do it, and the biggest benefit will be you'll save hell lot of money, because data science education through universities is very, very costly.
Agreed. And also, I think, don't you have to be some instances you're better off getting a PhD, because I've heard of like data scientists, PhD, that's kind of what clicks in your head. But it sounds like it doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be that way, and you can drive your own kind of your roadmap.
It
Um,
doesn't have to be that way. Yes, I agree. There are organizations where there is a role of a machine learning engineer. So the data scientist, machine learning engineer, data analyst, data engineer. These are like four different roles if you think about data science as an industry. And if you're working, let's say in Google or Facebook and doing state of the art machine learning, let's say you are one of the core developer in TensorFlow, then having PhD will be very helpful. But if you're working for any tier 2, tier 3 company where you're mostly using TensorFlow or PyTorch or sklearn, any like ready-made libraries, and you're more focusing on your business domain, then I don't think PhD is required. Some you have to read the role description. Some roles require it, but it's not necessary. And if you're doing PhD, of course, you're investing so many years of your life. So you have to kind of think that from that perspective. Yeah, and just kind of keep a balance on how much time you want to spend in college doing study versus how much time you want to spend in industry doing the real work.
Got it. Um, in terms of your channel, what is your vision for your channel? What are some of your goals?
Yeah, so some of my goals is I partially answered that is I came from a small village. My father was a teacher, and teaching is part of my value system, which is making education available and accessible to everyone in the world. I have some of my subscribers from remote parts of Africa, and they're watching my videos, and they're probably getting the same content that a guy in New York must be getting, right? So I want to make that playing field leveled for everyone when it comes to education. And I'm thankful for all the YouTube and Google efforts for making that happen. So influencers like me, and there are many other influencers who are working on the same vision. I also launched a new channel, like a parallel channel called Skill Basics. So my channel is called Codebasics, which is mainly Python, data science. The Skill Basics channel is a more general channel where you see content on how to improve soft skills, how to do freelancing. Because my younger brother, he started a software company 3 years back, and his company has grown to be like 60 employees company today. And he also, in his journey, he has learned a lot of skills. I have a couple of my freelancer friends. So my brother and my some of my friends, when they looked at my effort, they were like, okay, we also want to contribute. So then I'm like, all right, let's create this new channel for Skill Basics, where we post any like uh, any content that is not Python or data science. And that way both of this channel will become a platform for upskilling yourself. So if you want to
Okay.
upskill yourself, you use these resources, and you can do amazing things.
Have you launched the channel, or are you in the process of launching the other
It's
channel?
already launched. Yeah, we have a couple
Okay.
of videos. I mean, it's not as active as my channel, but we are actively working on it. So
Yeah,
the channel will have a lot of great content, I think by December end.
that's awesome. I will link it on my Facebook group as well as on my the blog. But that being said, if you had to kind of give some takeaway advice um, to, as I said, business analysts can vary from being could be a PO, could be data analyst, could be there's a lot of different roles where you have the skill set of business analysis where you kind of bring things together from a research perspective. Do you have any advice for folks that are could be non-technical, could be semi-technical, to get into and basically to move into data sciences, to move into machine learning? Any advice?
Yeah. So I think I partially answered this already. The number one advice is not feeling inferior and not having this self-doubt, I think that's probably the most important thing. And uh, making a friendship with people who are very positive, who have made this transition. They say that you are an average of 5 people you spend most of your time with.
Mm.
So if you are living in a social circle where people like kind of demotivate you, right? They do not appreciate your intention or your goal, then you should probably stay away from that group and instead make connections. Like there are many ways you can make connection. You can join, let's say, Discord server, for example. I have Discord server, so many other YouTubers have Discord server. So join those servers, make connections with those people who have made that non-technical to data science transition. Connect with people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a facility of people search, so you can make connection with a couple of data scientists working for, let's say, some good companies, and just try to have a conversation with them. So I think networking is probably the most important thing, I would say. The other things are, of course, learning step by step and all of that. But those things you will get it, right? It's easy. You just do YouTube search. Let's say you want to learn machine learning, just a machine learning tutorial, and you'll find many tutorials. And the third thing is getting hands-on. So if you're trying to learn Python machine learning, just don't keep on watching conceptual videos. Start doing coding from day one.
Got it.
That's like hands-on practical implementation. You are becoming, let's say, you want to do data analysis in Tableau or Power BI. Just start building those dashboards from day one. You just keep on watching the videos. I mean, it's not an effective use of your time.
Right. No, it's the hands-on, as you said, the hands-on experience and that practical experience. That's critical. Um,
And see, you can get the project. Sometimes people ask me like, okay, where do we get project? Like, what should we work on? Uh, well, your first data analysis project could be tracking down your own expenses, right? Like you pay a certain bill on your food, on your rent and gas bill and so on. Just create an Excel file, start tracking your expenses, monthly expenses, income, and then pull that data into Power BI and try to build a nice visualization. Okay, how is your income trend? How is your expense increasing month to month? Do you have any outliers? Um, you can do like 100 different things in terms of visualizing that data, and then you can export Power BI dashboard as an app on your mobile phone. So it will be kind of cool application, and it will be useful to you. So when you build something tangible that is not just a dummy project, it gives you this mental boost or mental reward that I have built something that is useful. Like many times people, when they're in college or in general, they build these dummy projects, and the dummy projects are not useful to anyone. You ultimately throw them in a garbage bin. So build something. Like you can contact, let's say, NGO nearby, non-profit organization. Just go to them and just say, okay, I can help you build whatever X thing. And if you do it for free, of course they can give you that project. And so start working for people for free. And that project based learning is very essential.
Yeah.
People say, okay, 2 months I will spend learning about machine learning, then I'll start my project. I always say that you should start your project from day one. Just think that you're already an expert, and then once you start the project, you will realize what challenges you face, what are the things you need to learn, and then you learn those things. So it becomes more like a targeted learning.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, so you're checking and adjusting, right? So you kind of find where your weaknesses are up front and kind of focus on honing in those skills, I would imagine, and then just kind of progressing that way. Dhaval, it's been very nice chatting with you, very refreshing actually. So I appreciate your time. So how do people get a hold of you? I know you have your two channels. So I would assume it's that. Is there any other channels or opportunities that they can kind of see you,
S-
hold of you?
Sure. So I uh, try to reply to as many comments on YouTube as possible. So YouTube is like my number one preferred way of getting in touch with me. I also have a Discord server. So I will share a link of my Discord server. I participate in that. I try to answer questions from people. And there are many other experts, by the way, on that Discord. There are data scientists, data analysts, machine learning engineers who try to help you. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So I will share all of those details with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate your time. I'm going to stop recording, but if you could stay on, Dhaval, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.